Hello everybody, this is Joe with Carbon Marine. Today I'm going to give you 3 essential tips to prevent you from losing your investment of $280 into a carbon fiber, carbon marine tiller extension, also known as the TillerPillar. Now, why am I taking the time to have this conversation? Common sense? Well, I would argue it's common sense, but sometimes common sense ain't so common. So I hear the calls, I get the calls, I hear the people. Been making these things for 19 years, coming up this April. So I want to break it down to the 3 most common ways that folks lose their pride and joy, very, very fancy carbon marine tiller pillar. The number 1 way people lose them, believe it or not, they get stolen. Do not travel with your TillerPillar on your motor. You go in to get one of those cat milk lattes or whatever at Starbucks, or a ham sandwich or something, or a chicken sandwich or whatever, and you'll step out of your truck and you'll go in and you're there for just a minute and you're going to come back and you're not going to notice it. You're going to get to the ramp and you'll be like, what the hell happened to my TillerPillar? Where is it? Did I forget it? Is it at home? Honey, can you check the garage? See if I left my TillerPillar there? Nope, it ain't here. Well, Franco Fat Fingers grabbed it when you went in to get that cat milk latte. So, number 1 way people lose their TillerPillar, other people steal them. Do not leave them on your motor. Second way people lose their TillerPillars, and this is a really deep tip that's, again, I would think might be common sense, but tiller extension grips on outboard motors are tapered. There's only a couple rare instances, Suzuki's DF99, 15, DF20s, that grip does not have any taper, and it's like 6.5 inches long, and it's like trying to put 15 pounds of monkeys in a 10-pound monkey bag. I mean, it can be hard to get it to load on, but there's no taper on it. But all the rest of them are tapered. Why is that important, or why should you be paying attention to that? Well, you should be paying attention to it because it's a rubber grip that's mounted onto a hard plastic or nylon sleeve, and then that sleeve is mechanically attached to the mechanism or a rod that rolls the throttle assembly inside the cowling and makes the motor accelerate or decelerate, and sometimes change the gears in case of mercuries. Now, the structural arm that comes off of an outboard motor that hard sleeve gets mounted to is casted magnesium or aluminum. Most of the time it's casted magnesium. I guess I've never made one, but I'm just taking a shot at it. It's metal, and it's a pretty rough casting. So why is that important? Well, that's important because they have to leave a gap in between the plastic and the metal for thermal expansion, for trash. Just there's a tolerance in there, and that tolerance can be very sloppy. E-Tex in particular, it's really sloppy. And the problem that presents is that when you put this lever, this TillerPillar, on that sleeve is 5, 6, 7 inches long, but the tolerance inside might be 100 thousandths, let me translate to English, slightly less than 1/8 of an inch. It's pretty sloppy, and you don't feel it, and you don't really see it when you're holding the rubber grip with your hand, because your arm is typically perpendicular, so you don't get the amplification. But when you put this lever on that grip, that 100 thousandths of slop or clearance in between the hard plastic sleeve that the grip is mounted to, that the TillerPillar is mounted to, the TillerPillar to the grip to the hard sleeve to the magnesium or casted metal arm. Now the grip, TillerPillar, hard sleeve are one. There's no slack. So it really amplifies the tolerance between the hard sleeve and the metal. So this thing now might move 1/2 of an inch at the end of a 30. This isn't 30. I think it's just 30 inches. It's 36. But the longer the extension, the worse it is. So now this thing is, you're driving down the road and this thing's bouncing and bouncing and bouncing and bouncing and shaking and rattling. And all of a sudden, poof, it slides off, hits the deck, falls into the road. I can't tell you how many times guys call me, oh, you're not going to believe this. My TillerPillar fell off my motor, and, aren't the knobs supposed to keep it tight? Well, they are. But let me take you to a more critical scenario where vibration is the enemy. Aircraft. When you're in an airplane and a nut or a bolt comes loose, it's catastrophic. Like somebody's going to die. So what do? They drill tiny holes through the bolts and they run a piece of wire through it and they cinch that wire down so that it captures the bolt. It's not the bolt's fault. It's the mechanics of harmonic vibration will make stuff come loose that you couldn't imagine. So I haven't gotten really crazy about trying to put anti-vibrational devices on the TillerPillar because that's just going to make the part even more expensive. But a little bit of common sense. Take the TillerPillar off of the motor when you're traveling, when you're trailering. You're going to save yourself the cost of your TillerPillar, the frustration of getting to a remote ramp somewhere at dark 30 and not have it. I mean, you know what it's like to have a TillerPillar and then all of a sudden you don't have it. It's a pain in the ass. It's like going into the woods with flip-flops on instead of boots. You don't want to do it that way. So you don't want to run without your tiller extension. Then you're mad at yourself because you lost it. And then you call me and try to figure out what we can do. And there's not a lot I can do because it's not something that I can control. So regardless of how tight you make the knobs and regardless of whether the motor's brand new or old, the fastest, safest, cheapest way to prevent your TillerPillar from vibrating off and getting lost is to take it off and stow it. And it'll also keep people from stealing it. So you get a 2-for-1 tip in that tip. Lastly, the third most common way TillerPillars get destroyed is folks just leave them out in the sun. And it's so sad. They just leave it on their boat. They paid $280, another $20 for shipping, and another $20 for sales tax. You're at $300+. And we hand build these things. My family, me, my son, my wife, and my daughter, like we build these. These aren't built in China. These are built right here in Tampa, Florida. We hand build every single one. Every single one of these has one of us touching it, feeling it. Most of the time it's my son, Joseph. But we take a lot of pride in our work, and they're not inexpensive. So use a little common sense, take care of them, spray them down with aerospace protectorant 303 to preserve the clear coat. If it does end up getting a little scratched up or weathered, you can re-clear them. It's real easy to do. I'll make a video on that in the future. But the point of this message is tip number 1, tip number 2. Do not trailer with your TillerPillar mounted onto your boat or onto your motor. If you do, at least put your safety lanyard or a piece of paracord or something connected to the TillerPillar so in the event that it falls off, it gets captured and kept in the boat. Now, I'm not talking about a 9-foot piece of paracord because then it's just going to get drugged behind the boat. But if you just have to travel with it connected to your motor, put a lanyard on it so that if it does come off, it doesn't fall out of the boat. But I would suggest don't travel with your TillerPillar. The other reason why that's important is it forces you to reload it every time and seat it correctly so that it's properly fitted and properly tightened and you don't have it come loose or slip while you're running. Now people say, well, Joe, if it's got that so much vibration in it, why doesn't it come off when I'm running the motor? Well, it doesn't come off when you're running the motor or running the boat because you're on this end and you're stabilizing it. You're acting like a shock or a dampener to absorb that vibration and to keep it in place. It can't slide out if you're here holding it and you're putting pressure on it. Now, there are instances where people say, specifically on the on the Tohatsu 99, 15s, 20s, that grip is tapered, but it's got a little bit of a negative angle, a little bit of a reverse belly between about halfway and the tip. The tip flares out, so we can get a good moment of contact on the tip, and we get a good moment of contact at the base, close to the large circumference. But there's a little center, the little part toward the first third of the tip where there's no contact. And those grips and TillerPillars specifically can come loose. And what we tell people is if you have a Tohatsu 99, 15, or 20, first thing, clean that grip with alcohol or acetone. Get that baby clean. What you don't realize is that over time, your hands are oily. And that oil is organic. So it'll transfer to the grip. And then this microscopic algae and other crud accumulates, fish slime, sunblock lotion, not suntan lotion, nobody wears suntan lotion, sunblock, fish slime, mayonnaise, ketchup, whatever from chicken grease from eating Dion's fried chicken in Key West. I don't know. My point is, we take it for granted those grips are clean. They are not clean. They're nasty. They got dust. They got grime. They got sweat. They got oil. Clean it. Clean it. Clean it. Clean it. You want that on that Tatsu. You want that grip grippy. You want it like a damn soft rubber tire on a drag car, almost sticky. And if you get that clean and you clean the inside of your TillerPillar with alcohol or acetone and you slide it on there and you tighten it down tight, you're not going to have an issue with it coming off while you're running. But if you are having issues with any model of TillerPillar coming off while you're running, I'll bet you $99 it's the grip's dirty. It's got some sort of contaminant that's acting as a lubricant that's not letting that soft rubber grab the hard, smooth inside of the TillerPillar. So that's the 3 tips for how to not lose your $280 TillerPillar. Number 1. Number 2, don't travel with it on your boat because somebody will steal it. That's number 1. Number 2, don't travel with it because it'll vibrate and fall off. And number 3, don't leave it on your boat on a dock or out in the sun where it can get just beaten down with the sun. It's not going to affect it structurally, but it sure will make it look ugly over time because it'll dilapidate the clear coat, and then you'll call us and want to know how to get it re-cleared. This is Joe with Carbon Marine. You can always call us at the office at 813-284-7040, or you can find us at carbonmarine.com. Go out there and get yourself a TillerPillar. The tarpon are coming. You may not be tarpon fishing out of a tiller-based skip, but if you are, you're going to need one of these TillerPillars. Have a good day.